Hello everybody. In this video we are going to talk about how to calculate our class fingerprint percentages. So we're going to learn a couple cool things about Google Sheets in this video and in this assignment in general. So at this time you should have already put your data into our class data sheet. So in this worksheet or in this Google Sheet, if you click on the class data, you're going to be able to see all of the data from class. You can see there's still a couple people who need to put their data in, but they will. Now, I have put in a formula so that it calculates the totals for each column at the bottom. This should make your task a little bit easier when you go to do this assignment. But you're going to be using these numbers to figure out the totals of each different type of fingerprint. Now, when we're comparing our whole class, instead of just looking at plain arches or tented arches, we're actually going to be looking at those combined. So we're going to look at all of the arches as like one category, all of the loops as one category, and then all of the whorls as one category. So you'll be adding those numbers together to get your total numbers of arches. For instance, if I have 22 plain arches and 9 tented arches, then my total number of arches would be 31. And that's what I would end up putting in my data table. Each of you was assigned a student number, so you have a sheet at the bottom. So if you're student number 1, you're going to go into this first sheet, and if we calculated 31 arches, then I'm going to put 31 in that box. Now let's just say hypothetically I'm going to make up the rest of these numbers, so don't use these numbers in your own data sheet. I'm making this up, do not use these. But say we have like 54 there, and then maybe like 187 there. Now this automatically has to be wrong, and that's because in my ones column I have a 4 plus a 7, which is 11, and then another one which is 12, meaning that we don't have an even number of fingerprints. So either we had people in class who are missing fingers, or something went wrong with our data. We're going to ignore that for now. I'm going to show you a quick way to use Google Sheets to do math for you. So here in this box, I want you to calculate the total number of prints. Now, yes, you have cell phones, maybe. Yes, you have calculators. You can just type that in. But Google Sheets will also do that for us if we tell it to. So I'm going to click on this box that says total prints, and I'm going to go up into this toolbar. So it's the bar above all of your different column titles, A, B, C, D, and it's got an FX next to it. FX tells you this is our formula bar. This is where I can tell it to do mathematical formulas for me. So essentially what's happening here is I have a box, and I'm going to say it's equal to whatever I tell it it's equal to. So you can see it already came up with a suggestion for what I might want to put in this box. I hit the equal sign, and it's like, oh, do you want to calculate the sum of C6 through C8? So it's looking at the data sheet itself. It's pretty smart. And it's telling me that, is this what you want to do? Do you want to add those things together? Because some, in math class, you add them together. And the answer is yes. That's absolutely what I want to do. I want to add these numbers together to figure out my total number of prints. So I can either type in the word sum and my cell numbers, or I can just click on this suggestion. So the sum, and then in parentheses, it's starting with cell C6. So we have column C, row 6. That's how we get C6. And then C8 is our final box. So we have C and 8. And then with that colon in between, it tells you that we want those two are going to be our bookends, and we're going to take everything that's in between. So I'm going to click on that. And once I do that, you'll see that the C6 and C8, those are colorful, and those are just been highlighted. I'm going to hit enter, and look, it does all the math for me. Wow, wonderful, great, grand. So now what we're going to do is we don't just want to graph our total numbers. We actually want to graph our percentages. So what I'm going to do from here is I want to calculate my percentages, and this is pretty easy to do. Again, we're going to use Google Sheets to do the math for us. So I'm going to click on this first box. You can see it's highlighted, and I'm going to go up to my formula bar. Now, again, I want to do an equal sign. So in order to calculate the percentage, right, I have to know a couple different things about math. I have to know how to calculate a percentage in general. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this cell. So like loops, I'm trying to figure out what percentage of the total my loops are. So that means I need to take however many loops I have. And you can see as I click on this cell, it automatically pulls it up into the top formula bar for me. Now, if I want to figure out what percentage loops are of my total number, I need to take my loops and I need to divide it by the total number. So by clicking on this cell, it's going to put C6 in my formula bar. and then I'm going to add manually on my keyboard the division sign, which in this case is a /. That just means division, and now I'm telling the formula bar, please do division for me. Now, so I'm taking my loops, total number of loops, and I'm gonna divide it by the total number of prints to get my actual percentage. So now that I have my division bar, I'm gonna click on what I want C6 to be divided by, which is box C9. So instead of me typing in these numbers, I can just say C6 divided by C9. Now, if I do that, if I hit enter, oh, look at that. I've got a number which is pretty close to my answer, but ultimately this isn't a percentage, right? If I want a percentage, I'm gonna have to have like 2 decimal points, and like a tens place and a ones place, depending on what kind of percentage it is. Essentially what I need to do here is I need to multiply this answer by 100 in order to get my actual percentage. This is a really easy fix, so I can just click on that cell where my formula was. I can go up to my formula bar, and now I can just multiply by 100. So my multiplication sign is above my 8. It's that asterisk sign, that kind of star. That means multiply. I'm going to multiply by 100. And now I have my percentage, which is 68.75% of the total prints were my loops. So again, if you are making a percentage, right, part of a whole, you're going to take the original part, divide it by the whole, and multiply by 100. So I'm going to do the same thing for this next box. I'm going to click into my formula bar, and I want to do the exact same thing. I want to click on whorls. There's only 54 of them. Oops, sorry. That did not work because I didn't hit my equal sign. Equal. Except now I put it in the wrong bar. Oh, gosh. So now I got to click out of it. Oh, gosh. I'm going to click out of that, undo, redo. All right. And now what I'm going to do is click back on this empty cell, hit my equal sign, and I'm going to have 54, my cell C7. I'm going to divide it by hitting that division sign, the total. And then I can't forget this part, I need to multiply by 100. And that is my percentage of whorls. And I'm going to do the same thing for my arches. I make sure that the correct box is highlighted this time. I go up to my formula bar, do an equal sign, click on the arches, hit my division symbol on my keyboard, click on the totals, hit my multiplication sign on my keyboard, and then type in 100. And those are my percentages of all my different fingerprints. Now that I have this, I can actually make my bar graph. So when I go to make this bar graph, there's a little something in the way. This middle column, it's gotta go. We don't want it. So there's an easy way around that, and that just means I need to select my data a little bit differently. So I'm going to click on the type of fingerprint, and I'm going to drag that down to arches. I don't need total prints. All I need is the loops, whorls, and arches. So you want to make sure those are your only highlighted cells. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Google Sheets my other data that I want to include. So instead of clicking and dragging all of this space, I'm going to release my cursor, and then I'm going to hold down Control. So you want to hit Control on your keyboard while you click and highlight this cell as well. So I first selected type of fingerprint all the way down to arches. Then I lifted up my cursor and hit Control and highlighted this column as well. So I'm telling the computer that these are the two things that I want to use as my variables in my chart. So once you have these two things highlighted, not the middle column, just the far right and the far left, we're going to insert our chart. So we're going to hit Chart. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Wait for it. Wait for it. There it is. All right. So here we go. I have my chart, and you can see it already has my axis titles in there for me, which is perfect, and they're exactly what I want them to be. They're my column titles. Yes. What I'm going to do from here is I need to fix a couple different things just to make this look a little bit neater. So I'm going to go to Customize, and this is where I want you to take the freedom to change the colors, change the font type, do whatever you want to make this look kind of pretty, you know. You can change the chart style, where you can change the background color, the border color, the font. You can make it 3D if you like. I know I'm a big fan of that. The only thing that you absolutely want to change is your actual chart title. I don't want the chart title to be percentage of total prints versus total fingerprint, or sorry, versus type of fingerprint. I want the title to be class fingerprint percentages. So you're gonna have to go to chart and axis titles, highlight all that, get that out of there, and we wanna say class fingerprint percentages. Yes. And it's up to you if you want to keep it, if you want to bold it, italicize it, put it in the center. You can change the color of it. Maybe you're like, I'm a big fan of that teal. I want to keep it that. I don't know if that's teal. You can critique that on your own time. But you can do that for all of the titles. So you can go to your horizontal or a vertical axis title and you can bold them, italicize them, change the color. The location where you change the color of your bars is going to be in the series portion. Now, unfortunately, you can't change each of these bars individually, or at least I don't know how to do that, but you can change what the bars actually look like in this location. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I want you to take the time to personalize this, make this look like you instead of it just like that basic blue. Have a blast. Once you have this completed, I want you to copy and paste this into the assignment for the day. So where it tells you to put the class fingerprint percentages, you're going to copy this graph and put it in that location. I hope you had a blast, everybody. Google Sheets is awesome. We're going to use it periodically in both forensics and, of course, in earth science. Thank you very much for listening. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm going to try to hit this like stop recording button. And here we go.